Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Today we're going to have Chris Johnson. Chris was actually named 40 under 40 here in Sacramento. I'm actually bitter about that because I'm over 40. The Johnson Group was recognized as a small business of the year by the Black Chamber. He was listed in 40 Next by Black Enterprise Magazine. He was the inventor of the Rapid Ramen, and he is a successful Shark Tank alumni. So what I'd like to do is everyone stand up, please. This is part of our... And I want everyone to give you a big rousing applause for Chris. Chris, come on down. Woo! Okay, Chris.
That's pretty nice.
You get a standing ovation.
Let's do it again.
You should have like the Arsenio show.
Do that on Shark Tank. Yeah.
No, they had the sharks on the side.
Exactly.
So, the way we started is we started sort of easy, and we started with getting to know you a little bit. So, where are you from, and what did your parents do?
Yeah. So pretty much from Sacramento. Went to Florin High School. That's where I met my high school sweetheart. So I've been with my wife since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And so we have 2 boys, 2 girls.
And your son's right here?
My son is here. So he's actually an intern at our office, which is great. He gets his first big check tomorrow, so he's pretty excited about that as an intern. Asking me, when do I get paid? Relax, man. You got to fill out your time card, the whole nine.
Taxes, Social Security.
Yeah.
Left.
And then went to UC Davis. So any Aggies out there? And I thought I thought you were a handsome guy. Yeah. So that's a little bit about me.
And what did your parents do?
So my parents, my mom was a small business owner.
Okay, so
she did consulting work for big companies like AECOM, URS, and then my dad, senior special agent with the federal government.
Oh wow, like a FBI?
Yeah. In fact, he did Secret Service for Reagan.
Wow.
I remember I got in trouble. You never knew what my dad did. Like he always had a gun. You saw his bulletproof vest, and he had this closet that no one was able to go into. I remember getting in trouble. I actually got suspended in the 4th grade, and my mom was out of town, so it was only my dad that could pick me up. And he comes to pick me up, and it's in an unmarked car. And so I never seen the car before, and he says, "Get down in the back seat, lay on the ground." So I couldn't be seen, and I remember I am so in trouble. So my dad, man, he was, and he still is. He's my best friend. Like he was instrumental in my development. As far as my passion. I was a big time basketball player. I got one of my high school teammates, Baron Parks, there. And so my dad, my goal as a kid, I wanted to make it to the NBA. That was my goal. And my dad never crushed my dream. But he said, "Chris, I want you to have 2 dreams. Have 2 dreams." And I was like, all right. But it was never like a backup plan. It was like, have 2 dreams to go after. And so I was like, okay, and he always supported basketball. I was like, what is my second dream? And I don't know if you guys remember the movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy. And so it's a movie where Eddie Murphy, he's a business guy. He had his own office, and he had Holly Berry as his girlfriend. And I was like, I want to be a businessman. That's my second dream. And I just love the freedom he had. It was really, really cool. And I was like, when I grow up, I want to wear suits. I want to have my own office, And so my second dream was to be a businessman.
So did your mom have, since she was her own entrepreneur, did she have much of an impact on that? Did you see what she did?
I think subconsciously, but not in a fact that my mom started a business, I want to start a business. I did like the freedom she had. The independence of creating her own schedule. She was. So I think subconsciously, yeah, that probably is accurate.
We were talking earlier, and when I grew up, it was like you go to college, you get a good job, and you work for somebody. And I brought my kids today, Brian and Riley. And then there are actually a lot of kids here today. And part of it is, I think we need to kind of expose them to entrepreneurship, because that was something that was really not taught in schools. In fact, I don't think the academia really knows how to teach entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Well, I totally agree. I had my first entrepreneurial experience at 16 years old, and it shaped me. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But on the
So this is your first job question.
yeah, well, yeah. Well, I guess that it is kind of. I actually had a first job too.
So what was your first job, and then what was this then?
So my first job, I worked at Juicy's hamburger stand at the fair. So it was the first. I had a work permit. I was 15 years old, and I'll never forget. Like you could work a certain amount of hours that you had to work, and it was the first time I worked, and then I got a check. And man, when I saw that check, I was like, I'll work 80 hours, 90 hours, like, And so I remember that was really impressionable for me as a kid, but it was the entrepreneurship that really made a huge impression on me. When I turned 16, my parents allowed me to have a party, and I invited all the kids from the high school, and all of them came. And so here's, and it was only in the garage. And so we have this line of kids, and the garage is already packed. And I had the idea, it's like, okay, I can't let anybody else in, but you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to start charging. And so I said, if you have $5, I yelled to the street, if you have $5, raise it up and you get to come to the front of the line. And so I convinced my parents to allow me to have it go from the garage to like the living room. And they started walking, and I collect the $5. Thank you very much, thank you. And that was my first entrepreneurial experience. And then I said, you know what? There's all these things for 18 and up and 21 and up, but not a lot of things for 15 and 16-year-olds. We only have the junior prom and the senior ball. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to create a team dance club. So instead of just having a prom, that every single week someone could have a team dance club. So I went to all the different high schools. I went to Elk Grove, Laguna, and I get all the really cool guys. They got free entry, and they helped pass all the flyers. And so my first event, I rented the Dante's Club at the Arden Mall, and we had 400 students show up at $10 a head.
Holy cow!
My expenses were $1,600. I'll never forget. So I made $4,000 cash that night. Okay, as a 16-year-old, and I had security. I signed the paperwork to rent the place.
You're like Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that was my first entrepreneurial experience. So that was at 16. At 18, I did it where it was every week, and then I did it to where I had one in Elk Grove, I had one in Stockton, and then it got a little too, I wanted to leave that type of business because it got a little too rowdy. But then at 20, I had a modeling agency, right on Arden Way. And so, knew nothing about modeling. My buddy comes back, a guy by the name of Chris Harris. He's like, man, I'm a model. It's like, well, how does that work? He's like, well, I have an agent, and so they get me on gigs, and then they pay me, then I get paid, and they get a percentage. I was like, wow, modeling agency, huh? I researched it, started my own modeling agency. And so,
How'd it do?
So I had over 50 talents, and from kids all the way to adults. My biggest claim to fame is the movie Training Day with Denzel Washington and Ethan Hawke. I put 40 people in that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, all as extras. And I had casted myself, so if you look really slow while going downtown LA, I'm right there, So, but what's really cool, it's amazing that one of the talents there, a good friend of mine, Robbie Jones, that was his start. And now that was his first start in acting, and it was the Training Day as an extra. Now Robbie Jones, he starred in the TV show One Tree Hill. He was the star in Tyler Perry's recent movie, forgot the name of it. And he's a major player in Hollywood. He's doing very well. And so, he gives me some love. Like, that idea, helped create his, kickstart.
Still remember Little People?
Yeah, exactly. So
So I've gone through your LinkedIn and you actually started the first. Your current company is still current, right?
Correct.
Johnson Group. Tell me how you got that started. What does the Johnson Group do?
So the Johnson Group is a professional recruiting and staffing company. Specializes in architecture, engineering, construction, and environmental. And so when these different projects go up, a company needs a licensed architect. They'll engage our firm to actually go find that person, and then we get a fee for finding them.
So how did you,
So I landed in that business. I knew nothing about staffing or recruiting. Out of
part for the course with you.
Yeah. So out of UC Davis, I worked for URS Corporation, which is now AECom. And I got that job from my mom. That was one of her clients, and so. I was working in PR, graduated with the communications degree, and so they had a massive layoff. But my boss thought enough about me, said, hey, I want to refer you to the staffing company. And I actually was going there as a candidate to get placed, but they liked me so much, it became an internal interview. I killed it there. I mean, I just flourished. I became one of the #1 producers, and I decided, you know what? I can actually start my own company. And I did back in 2006. So next year will be our 10-year anniversary for the Johnson Group.
And then you were pretty successful. I think you were named Small Business of the Year. And I guess I understand that industry is actually pretty competitive. So how did you what was the secret to your success, do you think?
Grinding, man. Right, startup grind. It's regardless of the competition, it was really I had a goal, and I was willing to pick up the phone to do it. And my team knows we don't work the clock, we work the business, and so that started with me. So I wasn't afraid to pick up the phone. I was immune to no's, and so I really just worked on hard as far as building that company, and that was the 7th fastest growing company in Sacramento. We survived the downturn as far as the economy. And it's been a great business. It had a lot of adversity, but we had a lot of success.
Because if I understand, you actually have to get the resources, and you also have to get the clients.
Correct.
So it's like you have to almost have 2 marketing efforts or 2 sales efforts.
Correct. And I did them both.
You did them both.
I did them both. And so in the downturn with a whole bunch of adversity and you said there was a good lawyer in here. Yeah, right.
Yeah, good guy.
A nice guy, a nice one. And so I had a lot of adversity with the Johnson Group. I had litigation. I was sued for 7 years from the previous company that they were upset with me leaving. And even after 7 years, I won the lawsuit twice, but I lost so much. So imagine you think you're starting a business. There's some risks as far as starting a company. But I won those 2 lawsuits, but even when you win, you lose, because of that time, and some of the litigators or lawyers know about that. But I survived that. So, a lot of people don't know this, is that when I started Rapid Ramen, it was at a point when I lost all my wealth. And when I had Johnson Group, it was a multi-million-dollar company. When I started Rapid Ramen, I had to start almost all over again. You had to repair the business as far as the economy, and I knew nothing about inventing a product. And I ask a lot of people as far as how many ever had an idea for invention, like just by a show of hands. Right now, but hold them high. Lock your elbow. Now, this is very fascinating. So I do a lot of these speaking engagements. Look around. It's always about 95 to 100%. Now, this room might be a little different. How many has ever started or invented anything? Right? And so now look at the room. Now this is a special room. I mean, shoot, Google for entrepreneurs, startup grind. Most of it's 0. And what I've realized is that for me, I was the same way. I had a great idea, but I did not know where to start. Had no clue on what to do or where to start. And so I had this idea of I ate ramen noodles, survived it when I was a kid, so ate it in college, And
Well, tell us how you started. How did you come up with the idea with ramen?
yeah, so the way I came up with it, ramen noodles, 95 billion packs are sold per year. 95 billion per year. Packs. Okay? But if you turn around, they don't have microwaving instructions. So when I was at Davis, I hated lugging out the pod, the pan, and boiling water. That's cooking, right? I wanted a quick snack. So I always made it in the microwave, and I sacrificed taste for speed. And one time I actually got it pretty good. It turned out pretty good. And so I was like, wow, there's a way to make perfect stovetop quality ramen in the microwave. And so I said, you know what? And I Googled to see if it exists. It didn't exist. I said, you know what? I'm going to actually create this invention. I had probably 10 others. But I said, this has to be...
So was this while you were still in college, or this is outside of college, you're at the Johnson?
So it started at, and the idea initially in college, but it wasn't until after college, I still eat ramen noodles to this very day, that I decided to take action on it. I said, man, I'm doing this thing.
So this idea stuck with you all these years.
Yeah, and so what I did, it came back to me while I was making ramen noodles at home. And so what I did is I said, you know what? I committed myself. I said, I'm committing myself to daily action every single day. Every single day, I'm going to do something. Now, this is at the same time where I'm growing the Johnson Group. But I said, I'm just going to do something. Just one thing. So the first thing was, figuring out how to file a patent, if it exists. And I did all these things on my own. And then it didn't exist. I said, okay, how do I file a patent? Went to LegalZoom.com. And I filed my provisional patent. I was patent pending. Then I went to a lawyer and said, listen, I already have my patent pending status. Can you help me and take me to the utility submission? And he took me to that on a reduced fee. And I said, okay, how do I find a prototype? I started this. I think this is so important for entrepreneurs. When I started this, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. I don't mix them in between. So a lot of people kind of know, and kind of know creates confusion. I either know or I don't know. And so the things that I didn't know, I was so honest with myself that I went to go find those answers. How do you do a prototype? And so I got those answers, and the students at Chico State actually created my first prototype.
And how'd you get these kids at Chico State to do it?
So the lawyer referred me to, I asked him, how do I create a prototype? He forwarded me to a professor that was at Chico State as far as with plastics. And I went with him, and students at Chico State created my first prototype. And so we had the rapid ramen cooker. Tested it, it worked, and I said, okay, I got something here. And so I said, okay, how do I take it from this prototype actual to mass production? And he gave me all this feedback, 30-minute call, and I was more confused after the call than I was before. And so I asked him, I said, hey, would you come on as a consultant on an hourly basis to guide me on how to take a product all the way to mass production? And he agreed. This guy's by the name of Darren Otten from Chico State. Awesome guy. And
so this time, how are you funding this? Is just bootstrapping it?
So get this. So we do the whole process, and from start to finish in this process, I'm bootstrapping this. It's cost me $1,500, right? About a total about $1,500 to get this, and then that's what. After he guided me as far as how to create the product, then we had the rapid ramen cooker. Okay, and so let me. So a simple design, right? All you do is put the block of ramen noodles right inside the cooker, add water to the water line, pop it in the microwave for 3 minutes, take it out with the 2 heat-resistant handles, and it makes perfect ramen every single time. Let's clap it up for that. Idea.
My daughter can do it.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So, but it's fascinating. I want to tell you about the start of this. So I create this thing, and I build up Johnson Group. We won the award from Senator Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg, Small Business of the Year. They invite me to Russell Steiger, his aide, invited me to kind of like a entrepreneurs get together type of deal, and they would just swap ideas and stuff like this. And so they expected me to talk about Johnson Group. That's what I got the award for. But I had this, and someone said, bring the rapid ramen cooker with you. But at that time, it was called the noodle bowl. Bring the noodle bowl. So I brought the noodle bowl, right?
That's cool.
And so they're talking, and so I bring it out. I said, this is the noodle bowl. I talked about Johnson first, and I talked about it. I said, it makes perfect ramen noodles, and this is the first time I got public reaction to this, because I was always shy, like, man, dude, I'm going from this professional recruiting company to noodles, right?
I can't believe that you're shy.
No, so I bring it out, and they go, wow, this is pretty cool. You should talk to the store manager at Walmart. We know him. This would be really cool. And I was like, wow, dude, Walmart, my first customer? The audacity, right? And so I said, yeah, book the meeting. And so they gave me his contact information. I booked the meeting. So it's the truck sold Walmart right there on the Thomas. And so I go to the meeting, and I'm standing there in the front, and he forgets about the meeting. So I'm there for 20 minutes in front of the registers. Then he waits me back. Then he finally comes back, big tall guy, brings me back, and he sits down, and he says, all right, tell me what you got. And so I pitch my hand. This is the world's fastest and easiest way to make ramen noodles. All you do this, I'm giving him, and he's just looking at me just like this. And he stands up. He says, follow me. And I follow him. I follow him into the aisles with the ramen noodles. He grabs a pack of ramen noodles. He says, follow me. I follow him into the break room. He hands me the ramen noodles and says, show me. Right? So this is the moment of truth. Right? So I open up. I said, this is how it works. I put the block of ramen noodles in there. I add water to the water line. I put it in the microwave. And then I'm just trying to get some small chat with them. And this is Walmart, okay? The biggest retailer in the country. I take them out in the world. I take them out. They're not done. And I'm freaking out. Like, I cannot believe, and I was like, okay, you know what, let me go ahead and put it in just for another minute. So I put it in for another minute, and I can see he's kind of getting a little impatient. Ding! I take it out. They're still not done. But I could see that at the bottom they were a little done, so I gave it a little stir. And he's like, okay, no, I get the idea. Put it in the seasoning. He takes a bite. And he goes, wow, you got a winner. This is a winner. He says, we sell pallets and pallets of ramen noodles. It's the third fastest selling item in all grocery. And he goes, I'll be your first customer. I'll cut you an order. And so I'm like, okay, great, great to meet you. Thank you. And so I'm just real composed. I get to the car and I go crazy. Like, before I called I just had a moment, man. And I was like, wow, I got Walmart. So I didn't even establish a bank account yet for the company, right? But I got an order, right? So while I'm at the bank, now this is a blessing, right? While I'm at the bank, the guy's like, man, what is the rapid ramen? What is this? And I tell him about it. He's like, you know what? I got a friend named Leticia Ordaz at KCRA. She loves covering new ideas, and so he said, I'm gonna give you your number. Call her. I called her, told her about it. She's like, I love to cover this story, right? And so she covers the story in Walmart, and so it's a great story. You can YouTube. It went viral. So there's a whole bunch of videos, but there's the very first one, and she goes. So we had the Channel 3 story, and so it's Sacramento is like I'm getting support. Like, wow, this is awesome. This is why didn't I think of that? Man, you're gonna be a millionaire. Wow, this is gonna be so successful. I'm typing up, listening, looking at all the comments I'm getting, because you contact us on our website, and I'm getting all these things, and I'm seeing the orders, and so I'm just giving them all to my wife, just reading them to her, and then something must have happened to my face, because my wife's like, Chris, and it's amazing how when there's a whole bunch of positive things going on, that there's one negative thing that really that silences everything. And this email from this anonymous person said, this is the stupidest idea I've ever heard. This is not an invention. Walmart's stupid for putting it in their store. You're stupid for thinking of it. KCRA is stupid for covering it, and you'll never make a dime on this. You're wasting your time. This is a complete failure before it starts. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a pretty tough guy, but that rocked me, right? Because it's not fear that's the biggest stiller of dreams for entrepreneurs. Fear, it's not fear. Fear is small. Because fear is reasonable. Fear is unreasonable. It's like, man, you know you should do it, but you don't do it. It's doubt. Doubt is the biggest stiller of dreams because it's reasonable. It's reasonable. Like, man, you really shouldn't do that. Man, you got a wife and 4 kids. Man, Johnson Group's your baby. This is what you started for 8 years. So it's reasonable, and it creates that doubt. But what I learned in that moment, one of the biggest things in my journey of this is the difference between fear and faith. Right? Every entrepreneur, every business person encounters this, where it's the faith is like, you know what? This is going to be a success. Aptology is going to blow up. It's already it's going to be international. Right? This is the faith saying, you know what? I'm going to take this thing. This is going to create a legacy for my family. I'm going to blow this thing up. That's the faith.
I need to call you when I need that.
Right? So, and then the fear is saying, how stupid. What a dumb idea. Noodles, man? Man, you know, I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my money. I'm going to be embarrassed. This is not, you know, this guy may be right. So they're polar opposites, but they share one same characteristic. Both haven't happened yet. Both want you to believe something that hasn't happened yet. The faith hasn't happened yet, and the failure hasn't happened yet. So at each moment, you got to decide whether you're going to believe the faith or the fear. And so I said, you know what? I'm having faith. I said, man, I prayed myself up, and I said, you know what? I'm having faith. I'm going to blow this thing up. And so, you know, I got my spirits back up. The next morning, the Walmart guy calls me, and he goes, man, I thought these things would, with the KCRA footage, it being on TV, these things would just blow off the shelves. Man, we've only showed like 3 or 4. He's like, man, you know, and I was like, man, dude, you know, you gotta believe, man. You know, I mean, it shocked me to the soul. I just got myself back up, man. And this is Walmart. This is Walmart telling me that it's failing. Okay? I remember where I was, man. I pulled to the side of the road in a parking lot and I just had him, just okay. And man, dude, I was like, dude, faith. I'm having faith. I believe. Here's what happened. 3 days later, that same KCRA footage, it went viral. Okay? Over 386,000 views in a day. And so the way I found out, I had an alert on my phone that every time I get an order, it would ding from, you know. And so my phone is just dinging, ding, 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 like 10 orders a minute. And I'm like, and my battery's just dying. I'm like, what is going on? I looked at, and so I had to Google myself to find out that it was on the front page of the AOL stories. So we sold, I mean, at this point, my house was fulfillment. So my wife and the kids, you know, they would get the sleeves, they put on the sleeves and all this stuff. We were selling, in that moment, we sold, oh man, it was about 3,000 units in a 2-day period. It's probably even more. It was crazy. And for those of you guys, especially I met a guy that's in tech, you guys would get a kick out of this. So my website, I wasn't wasn't connected with a credit card company yet. So I took it allows you to put the credit card information, but I had Square. Anybody have Square? So I manually inputted 3,000 credit cards by hand. Come to find out, that's kind of illegal, but that's what I did. So my job was to process the orders, and then my wife would do fulfillment. And this was during the time of Christmas time, so it was around November. So my wife would take big giant bags of product. She would box them up, all the orders, and you know, I was demanding too. Like, I wanted them to get their cookers. So, you know, as soon as the orders come, we were having them out. So the lines in the post office, you know, it was Christmas time. So what she would do, here's your rapid ramen cooker. Here's your, you know, she would give them away. and it just started to explode. Walmart sold out. In that week, sold all, and made another order, and that continued to sell out. And so that was one of the parts. That was one of the parts of this journey where I saw the biggest difference of faith and fear. Because on this journey, there was so many exits for me to get off this road, to quit. There was so many times that were reasonable reasons to quit, and I didn't quit. And so that's a little bit about the start.
So the next question is, how did Shark Tank play in all this?
So I was an avid watcher of the Shark Tank, man. I love that show. It's so educational. And I've always wanted to get on that show. And so a lot of people don't know, I was rejected 3 times. You know, the nice, hey, go to season 4, where, I got the nice luck.
So the rapid ramen though.
Absolutely,
same product.
Yeah, same product. So, but I got rejected. In that short period of time, right? But I was like, man, I want to be on that show. My son probably remembers this. In my house, I took the couch and I had my family sit down, and I freaking walked down the hall and I would pitch to them. Like, dude, it was happening. You remember that scene? Yeah, it was happening before it happened. Like, I believe that much.
So you're rehearsing at home?
Yeah, but with already 2 rejection letters under my belt. Right? That, and that's a good thing. And I'm going to tell you about the Shark Tank, but that's the level of faith, man. It's one of these things. I'm writing it in my book. It's there's a couple of different levels of faith. There's I think, there's I believe, there's I know, and then there's I am. And so I'm gonna give you the difference. And here's an analogy. If I were to tell my wife when we're boyfriend and girlfriend, the first one, I think I'm in love with you. How would that make her feel? I think I'm gonna make it. Right? Right? Okay, so here's the next one. I believe that I'm in love with you. I believe it. Right? You're trying to convince yourself, right? All right? And then the next one, so okay, let's graduate, right? The next one is, I know I'm in love with you. Right? So that's better. But then there's the last one. I mean, this is the level of faith. I am in love with you. I am, right? It's you become. Like for me, in my mind, I was successful a long time ago. I believed it. And I didn't let anyone take away that belief of where I know I was going to make it. It's like I am successful. So you walk in that destiny before it even comes in natural. And so that was one of the levels of faith. And so when your faith gets so high, the circumstances can't touch it. So poor collections, cash flow, payroll, taxes. Oh, don't tell me about taxes, right? A retailer telling you that it sucks, get it out of my warehouse. These things happen. But my faith is still so strong. It can't touch my faith. I believe that much. So let me tell you about Shark Tank. So after 2 rejection letters, I still felt that was going to happen. So a guy by the name of Leroy Chapette over at Intel, a buddy of mine, I didn't tell anybody I wanted to get on Shark Tank. He goes, hey Chris, we saw him at a dinner event. He goes, Chris, would you be interested in being on Shark Tank? I was like, absolutely. He said, well, one of my staff members is sorority sisters with one of the casting directors. It's like, man, I would love that. And so I had to follow up with him, and he made the connection. And I actually had a name now, right? And so she tried to make the connection. She did the email thing, all that, but nothing happened. So a couple months went by, and I said, you know what? I'm calling her. I'm contacting her. And then I contacted her, and I get a response, and I saw it's a 310 number. I know that's LA. And so I already did research on Shark Tank, so I know I had to be ready for TV, and so I had to have my voice ready to go. And so and a good thing I was prepared when they called me. it was a phone interview right there. So if I sound boring, you either got to be two things to get on Shark Tank. You either got to be good for TV and sharp, or you got to be a weirdo, right? And I'm not good at weirdo, but it's like, okay, I'm gonna hit them with that energy, right? And so, anyways, long process, but I was able to get on the show, and that was an experience. So.
So and I'm an avid Shark Tank, and you're the only one of the few times I've ever seen where, when I watch it, like, yeah, this guy's toast, because it was like, there was a scene where they like pretty much poo-pooed you, and then all of a sudden Mark comes back in, and then why don't you tell the story?
So I'll tell you a little bit about that. So first of all, for you guys, as far as the Shark Tank, a lot of people ask, like, is it live? It's live. You got one shot. So there's no take two, take three. No, it's live. And so I'm standing behind the those doors, and so it's like 100 people in there, all in black shirts. That's the production staff. And so you stand behind this door, and one of the production guys, he's my guy that is getting ready to make sure everything's behind that door when you walk out. And he heard from Northern California, and he was like, hey, it's like, look, dude, I just really need to pray. Like, can you, and so he's like, no, I got you. And then, Chris, go, boom, the doors open up. And you walk down and you see those little Shark Tank. Those are actually monitors, not real sharks. And you have to stand on this X. So you stand on this X, and you can't say anything for like 1 minute and 45 seconds. Right? And at the Shark Tank, stand up, I'm going to probably get out of frame on the camera, but it's from me to where is Corey?
Corey, CRT.
Man, I got to get my eyes better. So this is how close I am to the sharks. So it looks much further away. That was one of the first things that I noticed. Like, man, I'm so close, right? And so I had to stand there on the X for 1 minute and 45 seconds, and it's silence. So the sharks are looking at me, I'm looking at them, and so everyone's a little different. Mark Cuban, he's too big for the process, so he's doing one of these things, I had Barbara, and she's smiling at me, like, let me know everything's okay, baby, She's giving me one of those. Kevin O'Leary, he's just peering through me, And then Lori, she's giving me a nice smile, and then Robert's giving me a smile. I focused on Barbara. I was like, I'm okay. So and then you hear from the producer, begin, and then you do your pitch. And so I pitched my heart out. And I'm in there for 1 hour and 20 minutes. So you guys only saw 13 minutes of that. And I had them all in. Everybody, they were jumping all over each other because I knew I was prepared. I watched every single episode of Shark Tank, and I wrote down every single question they ever asked on the show. And it was 184 questions. And so I knew them all. And it was a great thing for me to do because, man, I knew my business intimately down to the last penny. Like, it just made that whole process, that preparation process, I knew my margins. I knew my cash flow. I knew my cost of customer. I knew everything. And so I was like super prepared, and I had sales, and I had success, and I knew all with all the different sharks' lives. And so they're just talking over each other and the whole bit. And I made a mistake, man. I made a huge mistake. The energy was way up here. I mean, it was all 5 were giving offers. And I made a mistake of volunteering information. So Mark's battling me on valuation. For those of you who haven't seen this, you guys kind of remember this. It's on YouTube. Battling with Mark on valuation. And I volunteer the information that says, hey, Mark, if I was offered $3 million, $3 million was the valuation, I wouldn't take it. That's how confident I am about the evaluation. And Mark goes, you wouldn't take $3 million? You're a fool. I'm out. The energy in the room went from here to here. And so I had to work my heart out to get, and I could see like Lori, who I really wanted, she was, and then kind of sat back, right? So it's kind of like this too good to be true, right? And so I really worked my heart out as far as pitching my heart out. for those of you who saw the show, Kevin and Robert made offers, and this is the first time Mark Cuban has ever got back in after saying no. Wow. And so it was really compelling. He saw that, man, this dude's a real deal, and came back in, made me an offer, and so on air I did the deal with Mark.
Well, what I was also impressed is you asked you like 20%, and you actually negotiated down to 15%. And I was like, holy smoke.
You know what? So many people talk about that. Like I've had a couple of articles that talked about my negotiation. Matter of fact, I forgot one school. They studied my my episode for their class. And honestly, it's such a blessing. I don't know where that came from. The way that I didn't really even realize how risky that was. Him coming back in was good enough, but I countered it again, and the way that I presented the counter was as almost like you have a deal with this. So I said, Mark, if you give $300,000, 15% loan, 15% equity, you got yourself a deal. So the way that I positioned that, it's not a yes or a no. It's not like some of these other contestants do, or can you do 20%? No. Right? So it's a choice close. I choice closed him. Said, and he goes, and I can see him, he's thinking about it. And then I hit him with more stuff because I studied him. I know what he likes. And he said yes. And so, more than the deal, the exposure put us on a rocket ship. You know, we've man, even just to this very day, I mean, it's crazy. We started, the night of the show, we did almost $250,000 online, just online, okay? And since we started, I was in about 800 stores before I went on Shark Tank. Now, all of this was not Shark Tank, but I leveraged it, right? Because all the buyers, I'm flying around the country, meeting with Walmart, Walgreens, you know, they're intrigued with the Shark Tank. And so we've taken the company now from, we were at 800 doors, now we're over 50,000 doors nationwide. Walmart, Target, Bed Bath. We're the #1 selling microwave accessory on Amazon.com, right? We voted Yahoo News as the #1 Shark Tank product that saves money. That was with Yahoo News. And so it's like, man, having just a simple idea, you know, has turned into this very successful multi-million-dollar enterprise, and we've continued to increase the lines.
So has Mark really been an impact after the show?
So a lot of people don't know this. Some of it's confidential, but a lot of these deals that are done on air, both are able to do due diligence after the show. And so so after we did due diligence, I decided that the deal wasn't for me. As far as the deal terms were the same, but there was a whole bunch of different things that I wasn't agreeable to. So I elected not to do the deal. More so for me, it was the mentorship. That was really what I wanted. I wanted to have Mark be my mentor, but I could see that wasn't gonna be the case. And Mark's has 76 companies, Shark Tank and other entrepreneurs, and most of them are tech. That's his sweet spot. That's his space. So really not consumer products and retail. And so I've been fortunate that I have some amazing mentors. I mean, the power of mentors has been so amazing. If someone were to say to you, man, I want to create an app company, I bet you there's something you can teach them, right? Because you are somewhere where they're going. And I bet you there's somebody in the app space that is murdering it at the $100 million mark. And I bet you there's something that they can teach you. And so I realized that, like, coming to it where I don't have all the answers, and I've been able to attract some amazing mentors. You guys heard of the Snuggie? You guys remember the Snuggie? Okay, well, that company is a $400 million company. The CEO of that company is my personal mentor. So imagine that, right? You know, imagine that I was bold enough to go seek him out and I want to learn from you, right? My good friend, he's a friend, but he's also a mentor, Hayes Barner. A lot of you guys know Hayes. He started Paramount Equity Mortgage, then Paramount Solar. and now he sold those companies, 200 million, and now he's he has ownership in Solar City, okay, which is a conglomerate. His partner is Elon Musk that created PayPal, the Tesla, right? You think he can teach me something? Absolutely. So what's amazing about mentors, I mean, this is huge. Amazing about mentors, right now, as an entrepreneur, you can only see this far. This is all you can see. So there's a level of success that's really not real for you. It's really not real for you. There's a whole bunch of stuff that happen, but you can't really see it. Like you're here, but you can see up to this level, but this is where you are, but you only can see here. What mentors do, they tell you what's up here. So every time I leave Hayes, mind blown. I'm mind blown. Like before I go try to regurgitate it to anybody else, I'm sitting in the car for an hour like, what just happened? Like it has put my success and my team's success on a rocket booster, right? And it's like unreal. Mentors, man. Hayes introduced me to another one of my mentors. I just flew out there. I go fly out to meet these guys, to spend time with these guys. And a lot of these mentors, a lot of people say, man, I want mentors, but you know, what do I give them? You know, they don't really want anything from you. You know what they want to do? They like to provide that information to someone that's going to make it actionable. Being able to bless someone's life, and it keeps their mind sharp. They're teaching themselves lessons they already learned. And so one of my other mentors is a guy named Ben Vanderbunt. Anybody heard of the product Proactive Acne Medicine? Okay, he was the president and CEO of that company. You think he could teach me something? Absolutely. So I've been able to surround myself with some incredible people, and when they provide me the advice, as far as advice that works, man, I go after it.
So how do you? What's your advice if you want to in getting a mentor and having that and then maintaining that relationship, or you know, the mentor relationship?
What I tell a lot of people is, what I've done is, I only come with, I engage a mentor with powerful stuff, right? I remember the email that I crafted, Scott of All Star. You have some amazing success, and then just a couple lines, just quick. We're having amazing success. We're doing this, and this. We're growing at 1,000%. We'll achieve 10 million this year, and I need to know this, and this, and you are the only one I want to learn it from. Something like that, right? And it's just compelling where you get a response. You don't want to waste these guys' time with weeds in the weeds. It's like your powerful stuff, the things that you think about. Like these guys think big. There's no limitation on what they think. So you want to be able to make some key things of what you want to learn from them, and be persistent. Like I wasn't afraid for them to say no. And so.
So if they say no, do you come back and ask them again?
Yeah, but no one says no like that. See, the fear of the no is, no means not now. That's what no means. I'm going to give you an idea. You know who told me no? Walgreens told me no. I mean a mean no. And guess what? We're in every single Walgreens in the country. Safeway told me no. We're in all the Safeways. Shark Tank told me no. Like, there has to be a persistence, but if you believe, you know that no is temporary. Costco's told me no 10 times. I'm still not in Costco. But you know, you should see my emails to Costco. You know what? You know what? Perfect. Hey, you know what? I said, I'm persistent but not pushy. When you're ready, I'm going to be ready, but I'm going to continue to give you updates. You okay with that? Absolutely. It's coming. It's coming. But it's that immunity. It's that immunity to know, as far as never giving up. So that's been huge for us. Also the innovation. You know, you got to keep. You know, there's three things. There's a young lady that so many different inventor guys, people with ideas, come to me as far as with help, and I love doing that. You know, we're actually taking on products where if we like it, you know, we'll do all the work.
So I understand. In fact, last time I talked to you, you said you're launching 10 products this year.
Yeah.
So are these some of these products from these entrepreneurs that are coming to you?
No. So some are. So there's two different vehicles for us. So one is the Rapid Brands line, right? So we extended the Rapid Brands line. This is our newest product. It's in all the Targets. This is our Rapid Mac Cooker for mac and cheese.
Oh my gosh.
Look at the Rapid Mac! Hey!
And Riley,
I
can
know
you
some
make
kids
it?
who like that, yeah.
All right, so this is really cool.
My daughter can actually use that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
She loves that.
You have one of these? Oh, hey.
Oh,
See?
you've got two.
See, that's
Wow.
awesome.
So I actually hate leaking mac. You have to boil it.
That's right.
And when I saw this in the store, I was like, and she loves, that's her favorite food.
Yeah.
So guess what I have to do?
Yeah.
So now I got that. It makes life so much easier.
Absolutely. Well, what's really cool about this, one of the things is, you know, the way that I got this idea, we were...
This is the commercial part of the show.
No, it's pretty cool. You know, as far as listening to customers, right? After the Rapid Ramen, a lot of people say, man, it would be cool if something to make mac and cheese. And we were like, okay, we're going to create a mac cooker. And it took us a lot as far as the development. But basically what it does, all you do is put the whole box of mac and cheese in there, add water to the water line, pop it in the microwave for 2 minutes, take it out, give it a quick stir, put it in there back for another 2 minutes, add your butter, cheese, and milk, and you got perfect mac and cheese versus 20 minutes on the stove, it's in 5 minutes, right? And so we launched this product. Walmart bought 1 million pieces for back to school, right? So let me give you the kind of development as far as when you know. Rapid Ramen took us, I filed the first patent in October of 2010, and we launched in 2012, and then, you know, so it's about about 2.5 years. Mac, from idea to market, took 6 months. And then in our first 6 months, we did over $1 million in revenue. So it's like, once you have the knowledge of how to create these products, it's outstanding. And we have 2 products that'll hit the shelves next month, and then we'll have a total of 10 before the end of the year. So we've increased the entire...
What, can you talk about the other products? Curiosity?
You know what? I can. So I was going to bring them. But, so you guys get the exclusive. The world premiere. So our whole goal, people are like, what's your competition? Our competition is measuring cups and teaspoons. Okay? That's our competition. We want to eliminate them off the earth, right? And so we want to make things so easy for people to make quick meals really easy. And so our next product is our Rapid Rice Cooker. And that mug is cool, man.
Really?
Yeah.
White rice?
Yeah, white rice. So what he do is it's almost like the size of the Rapid Ramen cooker. It's an oval shape. It has a water line, a rice line, and you put the rice to the rice line, water to the water line, pop it in the microwave, and you got perfect rice in 3 minutes. And what's cool about it is the first single serving type of rice cooker. All these rice cookers, you know, take 20 to 30 minutes, and you got to make a big old pot. You got to throw it away. You know, when you refrigerate rice, it's never the same. So in 3 minutes, you got perfect rice. So told the retailers about that. We had orders from Target, from all these retailers before we even made the product, right? And so that's been incredible. We also have. Do you think that's enough, Thomas? Well, but before I go forward, what's really cool, I had a really key hire. It's all about having great people. And so our 95% of our business is retail, and only 5% is online. And I've been kind of rejecting technology, right? And so a lot of my tech guys would probably appreciate this. So we made a really key hire that's on our team. We have Thomas. Stand up, Thomas. Thomas, clap it up for Thomas. Thomas. Thomas is our e-commerce channel manager. So as far as all of our direct sales, all that sales that we've had online, our followers, it's all been organic and by accident. We have not placed one ad We have not done, and so him come along is going to be huge for us as far as that. So those are Rapid Brands line, and then we have also the new products that we take on.
I have to say, every time I use the Rapid, especially the Rapid Mac, I sit there and think, you must have been someone putting macaroni and cheese, doing an experiment, doing 1 minute, and then it doesn't work, you throw it out. Is that kind of the process?
That's the absolute process. So we test it until it works perfectly. So it doesn't leave. We don't go to market unless it works absolutely perfectly, and that's how we make that happen.
Wow, it's 6 months of doing it.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of work.
Absolutely.
All right, then can you talk about your other 10 products?
No.
I'm curious. All right.
Not yet, but they're coming. They're coming.
So one question: do you still have the Johnson Group, or is it just sort of there and then
Yeah.
you're kind of managing two companies?
No. So what I realized about this is I knew that if I was going to make this thing a success, that I had to have focus. It's one of the things that I learned from Steve Jobs' book. There's so many different learning things in that book, but one thing was how focused he was, man. That dude was focused. And I realized a lot of entrepreneurs, because we have the capacity, we do a little bit of this, we do a little bit of that, we do a little bit of this, and so we got all these different laser beams going on at the same time. That was me. I had the Johnson Group, I had CJBA, which is my basketball company, and I had Rapid Ramen. I had all these different lasers, and a lot of us are family, have families, and that's a whole nother laser too, right? And so you got all these things spread out, but what the really successful people do, they take all those different beams and they focus it on one thing, and they just go 100% on that one thing, and that's what I did.
So
To the full exclusion of anything else. My long-term employee in that business, I said, listen, man, here's the keys. You're running the day-to-day. He was already doing it at one point. I compensate him. He owns a little bit of that company, and he runs that. I don't touch that company. My whole focus has been on Rapid Brands. And think about the growth. It's in a 2.5-year period. All of this success has happened. Right? It's such a blessing. But it's that focus. So much about focus in your success. A lot of people think a lot of success is about what you do. It's really about what you choose not to do. And so that's one of the things that I learned in that process. And so I had to stop coaching, and that was tough. That was my life's work. But when I come back to it, I'll be financially free to do so, right? And I can impact even more lives when I do that. And so there's sacrifice along the way of that journey, and I've realized that. But it's that type of focus.
So I think last time we talked, you had mentioned that you started like your own little Shark Tank. You're helping people bring products to you, and they're taking it to market. So tell me, what are you looking for in a product or an entrepreneur, and how do they engage you?
Yeah. So there's three things. Everybody raised their hand as far as ideas. Here's the filter as far as that idea is when you guys raise your hand. This is how you can decide if your product's a winner. Okay? This is what we do internally. So people continue to bring us products. It has to meet these three things. One, does it solve a small problem? It's a small problem. So many people work so hard with these big giant problems. It's a small problem. Anybody remember the silly bands? Where you wear the kids, you guys remember the silly bands with the animals, you put them on your wrist? Someone told that guy that idea was silly, that it was going to be a failure. Silly bands did $400 million in rubber bands, silicone rubber bands shaped in animal shapes. Okay? So it has to be a small problem. The second one is for a lot of people. We're talking 100 million people plus. How many people eat ramen noodles? How many people eat mac and cheese? How many people eat rice? Right? So that's huge, is for a lot of people. The third one is at an affordable price. Right? The Rapid Ramen cooker, $4.99. Everybody can afford it. So how many think you want to sell? A lot of them. You know, we saw the psychology of the Rapid Mac. We had it at $6.99. Then we had it at $5.99 with testing the velocity. At $4.99, the buying psychology of $5.99. Oh my God, at $4.99, they're blowing out. So it has to be at an affordable price where you still can make a decent margin. So if the product has all three of those things, in our case, that's a winner. It's a bona fide winner. That's the number one filter that we discipline ourselves on our product development and new products that we take on.
So what are you looking for? Do you look for just a product, or are you looking at the entrepreneur too that brings an idea, or does the entrepreneur not really matter?
For us, our business model, it doesn't matter.
So it's the idea.
It's because what we do, if we like the product, so there's two different ways to go to market in a product. One is licensing, and one doing what I did, built this big company that with staff, warehouses. If I had everything internal, we'd probably be at 150 people. But I sub a lot of the warehousing stuff out. But you got to build that company, or it's licensing. You guys know the Super Soaker? The guy who created that, he licensed that to Mattel. So he created the idea, licensed it to Mattel. The guy's worth gobs of money, right, from a license in. So every time one is sold, he gets a royalty forever. So that is a way a lot of inventors do it. They don't want to go through the whole process of building a company, but they want to come and provide a license deal. So in that part of our business, what we do is we evaluate if it meets those three filters, and if we like it, we'll provide that company, provide that entrepreneur a royalty deal, a license deal, and then we'll take that thing to market. And so, and it's amazing because we are in the biggest retailers in the country. And so our time from going to market now has reduced on our new products. Now it's 3 months. I can have an idea in 1 month, in the first month. By month 3, I can have it in Walmart.
No.
That's how efficient we are as far as our ability. So those are the things that we look for and be able to impact those entrepreneurs.
So you have is it every Friday people come up, or do they just come up to you?
Yeah.
They just come and knock on the door and they pitch.
Yeah. You know, it's cool. Yeah. I reserve Fridays to now. I got a whole team. I got a whole product development team, and that's been huge as far as being able to take all these big products on. Josh Casico, who's amazing at my office. But yeah, we take Fridays to look
So
at.
Friday really is a pitch though.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's about every other Friday we.
All right, everybody.
We pitches.
Every other Friday. You
Yeah.
pitch. Let's see. So at this point, I'm going to take questions from the audience. Carrie?
Chris, thanks so much for sharing your story. I love your enthusiasm.
Thank you.
I got a question for you. Circling back to something you said earlier, where you said you're immune to no.
Yeah.
Obviously. So is that something that is innate in you, or is that something that you kind of learned along the way?
No, I learned that I learned it along the way. I remember my first sales call. I was in charge of doing recruiting for my previous company, and I called an architectural firm. Matter of fact, I think SKW is right on the street. Might have been the same one, but I called them, and I wanted to talk to them about. So I give them a call, and I said, "Hey, this is Chris. I'm architectural as far as staff." And he's like, "Okay, how you doing, Chris?" I was like, "Great." So we're a staffing company. I'm not interested. And I was like, "Oh, okay, no." And hey, Chris, this conversation's over. And goodbye. And he hung up. And I remember this was my first call, right? I'm out of college. This is my first call, and I'm like, dude, how mean! And I remember this vividly. I remember staring at the phone. I was just staring at the phone, just real quiet. I'm calling him back. And I called him back. And they passed me to him. Yeah, this is. And I said, hey this is Chris Young, the guy you just hung up on. Hey, listen, no, I just wanted to, I don't want your business. What I wanted to find out, I'm new in this architectural field. I wanted to find out what's your feelings about staffing companies, because it sounds like you've had bad experience, and I just want to learn just learn from you as far as why you were wanted to hang up on me so bad. So, and I said, I just want to learn from you. Well, and then we talked for 30 minutes. And I was taking notes. Man, you staffing guys, you staff us, and then you pull our people while you're putting someone in the front door, you're taking them out the back door. I've had where you guys don't know the industry. He gave me all the horror stories as far as his issue. And so that was really evident to me that, like, because they're saying no, they're not bad people. They've had bad experiences. And so that's where that faith is so strong that, like, man, even though I'm getting the no, it's going to be not now. And I didn't get that business with them. It wasn't until a year later where I started to get business with that company. But that's how I developed that.
Yeah, so when things are blowing up and you're getting these huge orders, right, and you have all this money coming in, but you're also trying to strike while the iron's hot. So you have to make big decisions really fast, and you also need to hire people, and hiring is like so hard. People have like a hiring process sometimes like 2 months to fill a position. But you can't do that, right?
Yes.
So how are you making all these decisions with all this chaos going on around you?
You know what? I got a way that I hire. And Thomas probably can attest to this. One of the things that I look for as far as when I hire someone, I look for something like when I coach, there's a thing that you can't teach, okay? There's one critical thing when you're looking for people that you can't teach. You can't teach desire. You can't teach someone how to want it. So that's one of the things that I look for is, man, do they really want it? Success is contagious. So there's a track record of it in their history. If it's absent, it's not there. Period. And so when I look, I want someone that they're going to be grinding because that's just who they are. They have that desire. I don't have to coach them up. I don't have to fire them up. I don't have to motivate them. They do just because that's who they are, right? We got a cool lounge in our office. Thomas and I, his second day, we're both there at freaking 9 o'clock watching the finals with our computers, right? He wasn't doing it. This is what he does, right? But I could see that in the interview process that, like, this dude has been successful and he has a desire to be successful. So I pulled the trigger on those guys. And the second thing is I don't fall in love with potential. I don't. I mean, that's huge. So many entrepreneurs, they fall in love with potential. Like, when I hire someone, I'm looking at the results and I'm evaluating them. So I know, like, okay, man, if this type of salary that I'm going to be paying, it's going to probably take me about 4 or 5 months to evaluate them. So that salary, just use 100 grand. It doesn't really cost me 100 grand on that person. It costs me, for 5 months, or for 3 months, it costs me, whatever the math is, 15,000. So in that, I'm already doing the math of what I'm really in the best I've done my due diligence. Is this going to be the guy? And it's going to be evident in their performance. And so I don't fall in love with potential. I want producers. And so they have this thing that says, hire slow, fire fast. That's a real thing. But we haven't had to do that because we find those people with desire. And I don't have to micromanage them because they want it. And so that's been really huge for us. As far as our growth, we're now, man, it started with just me. And now in the last 2.5 years, I think we're at 13 people, internal staff. And then we have a warehouse that staffs about 150 people. And and another thing is, like, I don't want any bad people in my office. No one that doesn't fit our culture, that are good people, that want to have success, but are good people. Like, I won't hire someone that's super talented, but is a chump. Like, we try to sniff that out, right? We really want to sniff that out. We don't like that. Like, I like to be around people that we're going together. We're trying to win an NBA championship in my office. And so you really want to screen for those type of people. Go ahead.
Hey.
Hey. Hey.
I'm curious to know how your family dynamic is. I know your son's working in your office right now, and show me the money. Hello. I'd like to know how your family dynamic is. Clearly, grinding. I mean, when you're committed, you're committed, and it sounded like your kids and your wife were in it with you. But now that that's somewhat shifted, you've got staff. Where are you with them? What's that looking like?
That's a great question. That's an absolute amazing question. All right. It's very important, like for me, before starting this is a great, I'm going to tie it all in because this is huge. I'm so glad you asked me that question. So many people choose the vehicle without finding at the destination. Okay, so I'll use an analogy. Whether it's a job or, let's say these are vehicles. Whether it's a job or a business that you're starting, so many people get in the vehicle and they just drive aimlessly. They're working that job or doing that business, and they have the ups and the down times, and they're just going. They're just going. And then some adversity happens, and then what they do is they're like, man, it's the vehicle. So they leave that job, or they stop paying attention to that business, and then they hop in another vehicle. And then they start driving this vehicle. They start driving this vehicle aimlessly. And the problem is they didn't identify the destination. Like, they didn't identify what they want. So everybody in business needs to have a personal retreat with themselves, where you really decide, man, what do I want out of this one life that I have? I got one life. What do I want out of this life? And for me, it was crystal clear, and it's for you. Not for you to have something that other people think looks good. No, it's for you. And it was crystal clear. I wrote down all my things that I wanted. I mean, things that I want. I've always wanted them. My dream car. I like cars. I don't like boats, but I like cars. And I put that dream car on there. That was something that I wanted. I've always loved homes. I wanted a beautiful home. I still want to, I have a great home, but there's a home my dream home that I fantasize about, that I really want. I wanted to, as far as go on Disney cruises. How silly that is. My family loves Disney cruises. And I wanted to be able to take my family on Disney cruise at least one time a year. At least once. I also wanted, what's on my board? I want to get to 195 pounds. I wanted my son's a basketball, my 11-year-old top basketball, one of the top 5th graders in the country. I wanted an indoor basketball gym. Yes, audacious, but we love basketball. Like, these are things that I want. I want to have my kids' college education paid for. Where it's done. It's the 13th grade. It's already paid for. You go from 12th grade to 13th grade, called college. Right? I wanted that done. I wanted to be financial. I wanted enough money in the bank where I'm financially free. No bills. Completely debt free. Where if I just want to bless somebody with 10 grand, I can. And it does, I don't even feel it. So I had all these things listed out as far as I'm giving you guys a little peek of my dream board. And I had my destination. And so once I had my destination, I talked to my wife, and I said, listen, this is where we're going. So for me to do this, I'm going to have to travel. I'm going to have to go all in. I'm going to have to get up early. I'm going to have to stay late. I'm going to have to work hard, work smart. I'm not going to be able to coach. I'm not going to be able to attend all the kids' activities. I'm not going to be able to go to Chloe's dance recital. Are we with it? And she was like, let's do it. We had a family meeting, letting them know. Chris remembers this family meeting. And I was like, listen, Daddy's going hard because this is what Daddy's trying to get us. I want a swimming pool in my backyard. These are things I want, personal to me and what my family loves. And they make them happy. And I'm happy when they're happy. So once I identified that destination, I created a dream board that's on my, this is before I started. And I had this dream board. I got in this vehicle, Rapid Ramen, and I am mashing to my destination. And so I'm not there all the time like I was. But every time I'm there with my family, I'm impactful. I'm so present. Like, and they already know what we're going after. They already saw the tickets to the Disney cruise. I wanted courtside seats. That was another thing on my dream board. I love basketball. I remember I didn't go to a Kings game until, and I played all my life as a kid. I didn't go to a Kings game until I was an adult. Couldn't afford it. And then when I was an adult, I was all in the upper bowl. I was like, man, that would be really cool to get to that lower bowl. And then I would watch the lower bowl, and I would watch the game, and I would watch the courtside seats. Like, they look so happy, right? And I wanted courtside seats. And that was something I had on my dream board. These were personal DNA of things that I wanted in my destination. So what happens when I'm in this vehicle, and when the time gets hard, and I'm on that 6-day stretch, and I'm missing my baby girl, and I'm focused because I know where I'm going. And I know when I get here, everybody's going to be better off. And so there's no balance. Anybody tells you that there's no balance. There's no balance. The balance is when I'm here, I own all my time. I can do anything that I want. I'm financially free. I can do all these things and enjoy it. And then if I want to take another trip, I'll set another destination. But that's how you have to do it. If you don't have that, you get lost. And then you're easily moved. You're like, dang, man, do I really want to do this? Oh, man, is this really going to work? And your faith goes like this. Because you're not focused. You don't have a why. You don't have a why of why you're doing it. So you got to develop that why. You got to have that personal retreat where it's just by yourself. But like, man, it's been a long time since I dreamed and decided what I want from my life. And then after you write all those things down, you expect a vehicle. You see, okay, can this get me there? You hop in, you lock the doors, and you drive all the way to the destination.
And your wife and your kids they're on that vehicle just in a different way with you.
They are all inside. Absolutely. And 100%. And so now I can do that without any guilt. Without any guilt, we're going. And it's already happening. A lot of those things that I mentioned are already happening. It's already happened. It's already done in my mind. They're already starting to happen in the natural. And so and everybody's happier. Everybody has more joy. The other thing key is in that journey, people, I believe, people say enjoy the journey. And I was like, enjoy the journey sucks. Right? No, I meant that. I mean, I would say that, like, man, dude, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go call the East Coast, trying to set meetings with Bed Bath, getting told no, hiring and flying all over the country, dealing with this, dealing with that, people, hating on me online, and, but what I realized is that I had the wrong perspective. I had the wrong perspective. Basically what I was saying is that, you know what, with me being upset about being not happy with the journey, basically I was saying is that, you know what, my life sucks until I get to where I'm going. Thank you, God. I'm not grateful for anything that I have. I'll be happy. I'm not happy now. I'll be happy once I get here. Right? It's a lack of gratitude. And so what I realized is like, dude, I'm blessed, man. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm so thankful for what I have right now. And so my wife is the biggest example of that. She's always happy, man. And I was like, yeah, life's good. Stay at home, mom. Yeah, it's easy for you to say, right? That's what I used to think. But there's a lot of unhappy stay-at-home moms. What I realized from her is happiness is a choice. She chooses to be happy. She chooses to look at the good things in her life. And so I learned that from her. And so now I'm just so full. Like, man, when I tell you, I'm like ecstatic, man. Like, I'm so unbothered. You know, I'm just on the go. And so that's been really critical as far as not only in the journey, but now I'm happy on my way to my bigger thing. So now this just makes me happier.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Irving?
Thank you very much for sharing your story, the true inspiration.
Thank you.
Shark Tank.
Yeah.
In the beginning, why you decided that you want to go after Shark Tank?
Why did I decide I want to go on there? Number one was the exposure. I knew that the exposure would be incredible, but also I wanted the mentorship. And we could use the money. The money was probably third, but primarily it was the mentorship and the exposure. So that was the reason I wanted to get on that. Yeah.
Angela?
Since you love basketball, do you think you could get the new Kings of the Ring map to sell the ramen cookers?
Oh. You know what? That's a good idea. You know what? We're working on licensed ramen cookers. So you ever watch Frozen? The Disney movie Frozen. So we're doing a license with Frozen, and we're doing a license with Avengers. Maybe we'll do a license with the Kings to do King's Rapid Ramen and Rapid Mac cookers. That's a great idea.
Riley, you got a question?
That's using your noodle.
Yeah.
Riley, what's your question, Riley?
Thank you.
How did you change, my question is, how did you change the name Noodle Bowl from Noodle Bowl to Rapid Ramen?
That's a great question, baby girl. Well, I found out Noodle Bowl I didn't have the ability to trademark that. And so my patent attorney was like, listen, we got to come up with a cool name, you know. And I was like, I wanted something that described it and the whole nine. And so anyways, long and short, we called it Rapid Ramen. But before what it was called, this is a pretty cool for those you that do products. It was called the Rapid Ramen Bowl. And so, and then this image with the noodles right here in the corner, this was the main image. And so it's called the Rapid Ramen Bowl, and we're about to make 100,000 prints of the actual sleeves. So some said, man, dude, you know, let me make sure that it looks good. So I'm walking in the hallway as far as the guy in the office, business guy, you know, in the complex. I was like, hey, do you know what this is? And he goes, yeah, it's something that that has ramen noodles inside. And he looks at, oh, there's no ramen noodles. I was like, wow, they don't really. I was like, okay. So we went to Walmart. I stood in front of Walmart. I stood in the Walmart and I walked to everybody and said, hey, do you know what this is? And they go, yeah, it's like you know, like a yakisoba. It has ramen inside. You know, rapid ramen bowl, and then they had I was like, and so I had my wife do it. So I did a couple of them. I had my wife do it. I said, no less than 100. She got 100. 95% of it didn't know what it was. And we were ready to print. And so I was like, oh, shoot. I got to fix this. So what I did is I said, you know what? Let's make it an empty bowl. And let's, instead of saying Rapid Ramen Cooker, Rapid Ramen Bowl, we call it a Rapid Ramen Cooker. So a cooker has more value than a bowl, right? And then so we did the same thing, did the market study. Everybody, oh, it's a cooker that makes ramen. And so that was one of my first lessons in marketing. Like, we wanted it simple, the Rapid Mac Cooker, where it sells right off the shelf of exactly what it is. And so that's just a little tidbit as far as some of the marketing thing that we've learned, and that's been very successful for us.
Good question, Riley. All right, last question.
How you doing, Mr. Johnson?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
All right. You know, you blessed us here with your personality and charisma, and you know, I feel really, I'm happy for you and your family.
Thank you.
My question for you is, what aspect of your personality did you have to contain or unleash in this process of becoming successful?
You know what? That's a great one. At every point in this, I'm just myself, just my authentic self, and I don't really have to contain that. But as far as sales, to have success in sales, it's not about me, it's about the customer. And so I do a more of a consultative sales approach when I go meet with, and that's been really important because there's some salespeople that they're so salesy. I don't sell, I just tell. So I embody the body language of the customer. And so, you know, if they're kind of quiet and a little subdued, you know, I tone it down a bit to kind of match as far as with them and talk about it. I don't, hey, it's the rapid ramen cooker and it's awesome, man. So let's say he's all subdued and just a regular guy. I'll say, hey, you know what, Rick, it's so great to meet you. You know, what I wanted to talk to you about is the rapid ramen cooker. You know, I created it, had the idea when I was in college. You know, ramen noodles is huge. And basically what we did is we created a perfect ramen cooker. All you do is pop, and I just talk like that. And I just react to him and just tell about the product. And I do enough research to know what's important to him. People want to know what's important to them. So I know that you have 3,000 stores. What you really care about is selling 1 unit per store per week. And I've done this over at Walgreens. So you need that information. Because that helps you, and that helps you look good for your boss and as far as being able to get it in. So more what I do, instead of sales and energy and all that stuff, I hit them with content that matters. And I match myself to them. So with my personality, I think it's been a helpful advantage, but I feel like anybody could have success like that if they tell instead of selling.
So one last question. What's your favorite superhero?
Wow.
It's a tough one.
Wow, that is a tough one. Like, it has to be like a real superhero.
You can make one up, I suppose.
I know that, like, yeah, superheroes are real, huh? Oh, man, that's a tough one, man. You know what, since I'm signing the deal with Avengers, I gotta go with one of the Avengers, man. Because this is gonna be on tape.
Oh, you Captain America fan?
No, yeah, so no, I'm gonna go with the new dude, and I think he's gonna have something pretty cool. Vision, I'm going with Vision.
Alright, well, you know what, I want to introduce you to a new superhero.
Okay.
Samurai Johnson. You got your own video game.
That's awesome,
So
man.
thank you for coming and being part of our community.
Thank you.